Hey, folks, my guest today is Marcos Rivera. He's the founder and CEO of Pricing IO, a B2B SaaS pricing expert who uses street smarts to help companies capture value and unlock growth. With over 20 years of experience, he has a knack for effortlessly delivering complex ideas, helping his clients out, leaving them feeling more confident. Again, now building pricingio.com. Marcos, you ready to take us to the top?
I am. Let's do this.
All right. So you've also got a book coming out, which we'll talk about in a second. But first, Pricing IO. When did you launch the business? What year?
2019. So I launched in the summer of 2019. So we're about 3 years old.
And I see verbiage related to sort of services on the website. Are you flirting with sort of software on the back end yet? Or is it all people?
Yep. So today it's all people, although I think the ultimate goal would be to start introducing some tech behind the scenes, to start introducing some other levels of scale. But at this stage, we are full on services, all people, some of it, most of it being one time and some of it recurring.
The reason I love this is a lot of the most successful SaaS companies come out of agencies. So maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, you're sitting on $1 billion SaaS company, right? And it started off here pre-revenue with just an agency. So tell us about the agency. What are you selling?
So right now we help SaaS companies figure out their monetization strategy, how to price for what they're building. And we do that through a combination of coaching and consulting, right? So the idea is to help them learn how to price as well. And the big reason for that is their products are going to be changing a lot. Their customers change, markets change, competitors change. So they need to stay on top of how they monetize their value, which is the best way for them to get to their growth goals.
And so if someone wants to hire you to do this, are you making the commit to a 5K for 3 months sort of deal, or what's the average retainer look like?
Yeah. So from our perspective, we do it in very focused sprint projects. And so I don't think folks need to pay $500,000 in 6 months to get their pricing right. So we have projects that are 4 weeks, that are 8 weeks, 12 weeks. And we work with the companies who do the heavy lifting on getting the data. We'll coach them on here's what all this stuff means and how do we figure out your pricing and packaging. And then we actually build it and then help them with how to figure out implementing it too. Like how do you design SKUs to, how do you figure out how to compensate your salespeople the right way?
So if I was going to pay you for a 12-week sort of engagement like this, what might I pay for that?
Yeah. So if I had to think about our curve, the bell curve for our engagements can be anywhere. The majority pay between anywhere from 25 to 175K for the entire engagement. Some on the smaller end and some on the higher end, but that's the general what we look at for what we
and what do you price against? So someone paying you 25K for 12 weeks versus 275K for 12 weeks, is it just dependent on the number of seats or number of customers they have or their current MRR?
Yeah, there's really three things. The first one is how many products are we pricing here? Is it just one main application? Do you have like a bunch of products in a portfolio? The second thing is complexity in terms of your markets and models. Do you have channel partners versus direct versus PLG or something self-serve? How many models are we dealing with here? And then the last one is how much help and support do you really need? Like, do you need us to hold your hand as all the way you're through implementing, or do you just want the data and the answers and then you run from there?
Okay, super interesting. By the way, when you said $500,000 for an engagement, was that a shot at Price Intelligently?
No, just if you think about it, all the Simon Kuchers out there, McKinsey's, Bain, if you ever run a project with them, it's going to be in the very high six figures to even millions. In many
Who are the other players, though, specific to SaaS pricing? Who else?
I would say Price Intelligently comes up a lot, or Profitwell. I know that they may be shifting a little bit with the recent announcement with Paddle and everything that they're doing, but they do a great job of offering some good survey services to figure out willingness to pay, things like that, which a lot of folks take, run with, and use. But they don't really get into how do you implement this stuff? Like, how do you actually figure out, how do you implement a discounting matrix? How do you make sure that you can actually pull this off on the other end? How do you do execute a price increase, for example? All those things we get into, and that comes from, a lot of the value creation background that I have.
Oh, what's going on there, YouTube? Good to see you guys. Now imagine this. You love watching these interviews with SaaS founders, but imagine if we took all of the valuation data out from over 2,807 interviews I've done manually. Saves you a lot of time. Well, we've done this. We've built it into the beautiful interface inside of FounderPath. Check this out. I'll show you how you can access this in a second, but you log in, you connect your Stripe account, you see your valuation real time, you can see what it changed over the past 88 days, and even set goals for valuation this year. Now, the secret to valuation is there's many different ways to value a SaaS business. So the reason you're going to see 3 or 4 different valuations inside of your FounderPath dashboard, this is all free, by the way, is because depending on who's doing the buying of your SaaS company, you're going to get a different valuation. A VC is going to pay a different valuation. Private equity firm is different. If you're going to do a minority sale, that's different. And if you sell the whole business, that's a different valuation. You can see all those when I hover over here. Right, so the teal is what a VC would pay, yellow is what private equity, and red is if you sold the whole thing outright. Now, what's cool about this is not built off random data. Again, you guys hear these interviews on YouTube. All these data are built from real-time valuation data points founders share with us on the show. So Traction, 1.2 million, seed round, 3.7 raise, they sold 22% of their business. Go in here and filter by the event. Maybe you only want to see companies that have sold the whole business. Well, here are a bunch that have been acquired, the valuation and the multiple. Maybe you're going out right now and you're raising your seed round. Well, go in here and look at all this recent seed deals that went down, what they raised, what valuation they raised at, and what percent that they sold. There's never been a larger data set of SaaS valuations than what you can get now inside of FounderPath, and we're thrilled to bring it to you. All right, we're going to go back to the YouTube video here in a second, but if you want to check this tool out, if you want to jump in and sign up, you can check it out for free to get your valuation at this link, founderpath.com/products/valuations. Or if you go to founderpath.com and hover over products, click on get your valuation here and go ahead and sign up to give it a whirl. Again, all that valuation data live right inside the platform. I hope to see you there. All right, let's jump back into the interview. I want to get into some of those playbooks here in a second, but what do you know? I mean, what is ProfitWell charging these days for these sorts of things? Is it $500,000 and bigger?
No. So ProfitWell, believe it or not, I actually had someone tell me just a couple of weeks ago, they said, yeah, ProfitWell today won't even get out of bed for $250K, quote, what he said. Now, I think their engagements do kind of range around that low six figures from what I've seen. And they have a few different models out there. But yeah, that's what he told me as his last conversation with him.
Yep. Okay. So let's just so people can really get in your heads. I want you to get sort of street cred with my audience. I don't want them to see you as just like a consultant, right? So tell us about how you helped the SaaS company execute a price increase and what was the result?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually not much of a consultant. I'm more of an operator because I've built software and sold it my whole life, which is a funny story. But the real deal here is how do I help companies figure out how to price? So the first thing we do is we get into where is the growth coming from? Like, are you actually going down market, up market? Are you trying to increase your profit? Are you trying to gain a bunch of market share or network effect? That's going to tell me, okay, which options are available to you from a model perspective. Then we get into your customer base. Who are you selling to? And no, small, medium, and large is not good enough anymore. I actually help them figure out either on a maturity curve or complexity curve what these customers really want. Then you design and craft an experience for each group. So that means onboarding, implementation, of course, features, services, all those things. And then we price that. Once we get that granular, the pricing problem gets a lot easier after that. So what do? How do we get with the number? We actually then take the ROI calcs for that specific experience. We look at data we get from their customers in terms of what they find important and less important, and we apply factors there. We also look at their historical data and see what kind of pushback they've done on their current price points or where they're maybe massively discounting. And we triangulate all that with the competitive intel that we also do. We'll do like Secret Shopper and go out there and find like different price points out there in the marketplace. And we'll use that to come up with a price envelope. That's the secret here. And then based on that envelope, Nathan.
Well, what does envelope mean? Is that a range or what does that mean?
It's just a range. It's just a range with all those inputs and say all these inputs point to $40 to $80 per user, for example, right? And if you look at that range, if you're trying to maximize profit, you go on the higher end. If you're trying to gain market share and get a lot of growth, you go on the lower end. And then from there, you start applying what I call psychology tactics. So things like making the pricing actually easy to absorb, easy to say, easy to sell. And that is the final piece of the puzzle, is making sure that the pricing is super simple for some customer to understand. So that way you can break away from any confusion and frame it the proper way.
Really interesting. Now, guys, I was burying the lead here, but Marcos is the real deal, right? He was with Vista, which is one of the most, I would maybe argue this most successful software company in the world when you add up all of the combined businesses, maybe second largest in terms of revenue in the world these days. But you basically ran as part of their consulting arm, right? All their pricing and pricing optimization, correct?
That's correct. So a little over 3 years there, I did pricing across the whole portfolio. I work with companies, Marketo, Ping Identity, MindBody, Tipco, you name it. I've worked with all those companies. And you can imagine the pattern recognition engine really firing as I did the companies and also their add-on acquisitions as well. So
Yep.
it was hyperspeed.
Yep. No, we've had Andre on many times and a bunch of Vista portfolio companies on, and I always ask them about pricing. And I mean, one of the things I'd be curious to ask you about is when you're looking at potential acquisition. Now, this is hypothetical, obviously, but for say Ping Identity, and you're saying, okay, they've got 1,000 customers paying $10 a month. We think if we buy this company for this valuation, on paper right now, it's expensive at 15x. But when we cross sell the $2,000 average ACV, this is going to be the pickup rate, and actually now it's cheap. How do you run that modeling? And is that the thought process that someone should go through when they think about an acquisition in terms of pricing?
I think it's very important. I think once you start thinking about when you think about the upside potential, right? For me, PE is potential equity, not private equity, right? So you're really trying to capture that. And the way you frame that, right? And this is where it comes down also with the pricing models that I ask my team to make sure that we're building is how do we getting that net dollar or net revenue retention number higher above 125, 130, 140, as well as the ARR growth rate to keep that compelling, which gets you in the 20, 25x multiples, barring, now that the current environment's a little bit more skeptical and around valuations. But the point is, if you have those two numbers, if your pricing model is driving that ARR top line growth and that NRR number up, your ability to command a higher multiple is going to be a lot better.
I love this model, obviously. And again, he's now doing his own thing with the agency. Marcos, how many folks are you guys full time now?
Yeah, so started all by myself 3 years ago. We're about 10 people now.
Wow. And what's sort of the split? Like, are any engineers, or it's all sort of coaches, consultants, sales reps?
So I would say if I had to break down the team, 7 analysts, consultants, 2 folks on the admin operation side, and 1 marketing.
And how many customers do you think you'll work with this year?
So last year we worked with 106 SaaS companies.
Oh, wow.
This year we're going to do more than that. We'll do around 150.
That's incredible. I mean, you mentioned your cheapest price was like 25K times 106. I mean, that's $3 million minimum, $3 million of revenue last year.
So the bell curve, 25K, but we also worked with some smaller, like the startups. Even startups have a tough time scraping up 25K to do pricing. So I advise and invest in a lot of smaller companies. And so we'll do like mini engagements to help them out.
I see. I mean, can you build $1 million agency doing this? Can you break $1 million this year?
We actually have, we're
okay, there you go.
At this stage. And yeah, we're doing pretty good.
All right. So why write a book? I wrote a book. It's a lot of freaking work. It takes a ton of time. It's painful. Why write a book?
Oh man, you said it. I really underestimated the effort to write a book, but there are a couple of things that went behind this. One is I really wanted to give a tool or a playbook for a lot of those hardworking SaaS entrepreneurs out there to demystify pricing. A lot of folks, Nathan, they're guessing, they're copying, and they're sort of leaving it to the wind. And I think that's leaving a lot of their growth potential on the table. So if you give them this playbook, which sort of makes it a little bit more approachable, gives them some really hard-hitting, quick tactics to implement. I want to help these SaaS fleets, I call them. They out there, working hard every day to really capture their value.
That makes a lot of sense. So when does the book come out, and where can people find it?
Yeah, so it drops August 16th. It is available for pre-purchase right now on Amazon, on Barnes & Nobles, anywhere books are sold. And super excited about it, and can't wait to come out. It's a lot of me poured into that. 23 years of pricing just poured into my book. I put a fun spin on it because I grew up with hip hop in my early days growing up in the Bronx. So I infuse a lot of these hip hop lyrics into the chapters just to make it a lot more fun to read. I
love this. Okay. And so what's the URL?
So the URL is streetpricingbook.com, or just go to pricingio.com and you can visit and hit it either way.
Guys, Street Pricing Book. There you have it. Now I have to ask you, Marcos, you're a pricing guy. You negotiate. So obviously when you take a book thing out, you want to negotiate, talk to all the publishers, get the best advance you can. If you have a small advance under 50K, no one works hard to promote you, because if it flops, no one loses their job. If it's more than a 200K advance, somebody's getting fired if it flops. Were you able to push your advance up high to make sure these publishers work for you?
So I did go in on the high end. What I ended up doing is actually pulling the plug and independently publishing it myself with an agency.
There you go. Okay, that's another way to do it. You keep way more margin that way. You have way more control. So we're rooting for you, man. Let's wrap up here with the famous 5. Number 1, besides your own, obviously, what's your favorite business book?
Favorite business book? I'd have to say it isn't really a business book. I read a book called On Writing Well by William Zinsser. It teaches you how to communicate more effectively, which we all do every single day. So that's been a real big help.
Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying today?
I like Satya Nadella's style. I think he's really smart and humble, and that's the type of style I like to emulate.
Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building the agency?
We use Slack really heavily, so I'll say Slack number 1. Yeah.
Number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
7 to 8.
7 or 8. By the way, did Vista didn't look at Slack, right? Not the right style of company for them, huh?
They looked at a lot. I can't comment on that, but looking at the recent investments, it's let's just say it's not out of the category.
There you go. Fair enough. I don't feel like anything is out of Robert Smith's category these days when you have, what is it now, 20 billion, 25 billion, something like that, of dry powder.
Yes. Yeah. He's a smart guy.
Number, what's your situation today? Married, single, kids?
Married, 2 kids.
2 kids. And how old are you?
I am going to be 45 on Saturday.
Well, happy early birthday. That's great. Last question. Something you wish you knew when you were 20?
Well, man, so many things. I would say the number one thing I wish I knew I was 20 was I spent so much time building the networks. I'd rather build trust than networks, meaning meaningful relationships where you do something for others. So trust over networks. Yeah.
Guys, there you have it. Spent 3 years of Vista Equity doing all kinds of pricing optimization. Said, you know what, I'm going to strike out and do this on my own. Launch his own agency, pricingio.com. This was several years ago. Now 10 people full-time there. He helped over 106 companies, B2B SaaS companies last year optimize their pricing. He does more than $1 million of run rate just on the agency, but now has a book coming out, Street Pricing Book.com. Check it out. Drops August 15th, pre-sale now. Marcos, thanks for taking us to the top.
Thanks for having me, Nathan.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers. They try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.